Just absolute perfection. Hello everyone, Boatman87 back here again, and welcome to my second review in the Alien franchise. It's going to be the 1986 Aliens. And, this is coming about 7 years after the original Alien. The director has changed. We've now gone from Ridley Scott to James Cameron. And if you don't know Aliens, that name should be familiar to you, no matter what type of film genre you are a fan of. He is the man behind Titanic. He is the man behind Terminator. I believe he's the man behind Avatar and the new Avatar trilogy we're getting now. So, which, granted, I have not seen that collection of movies. The Avatar, Terminator, or Titanic. I do plan on getting Terminator on this channel someday because I would like to watch it, and maybe Titanic. We'll see how it goes. But as a one-off appearance in my personal watch history, James Cameron really shines because Aliens is absolutely one of my favorite films of all time. And so Aliens is the story. Ripley at the end of Alien has gotten to the escape shuttle and is now entering cryosleep, hoping to be found. And she is found 50 years later, and no one believes her about the aliens until they get a call from the planet they got the xenomorph from in the original, which was colonized in the time between the first and the second movie. They have lost contact, so they ask her to go with this group of Marines as an advisor, and then all hell breaks loose. So, starting off with the positives of Aliens, this is going to be most of the video. I think the switch from grounded horror film to big scale action film almost never works for me. When most franchises do that, I end up massively not always massively, but I usually end up preferring the original to the sequel. I prefer the original Black Phone to Black Phone 2. Even though both are good movies, I much prefer that grounded first film. There are a lot of examples of this. Now I just can't think of any because that's how it is. But I think with the Alien franchise, it works here because the Xenomorph is a creature that I feel is much more scary in mass, in swarms. Not every creature is like that. I think, since we're talking about aliens and predators, I think the Predator as a solo character is much more screen presence than several predators. But Xenomorphs, having a lot of them, having them swarm around, is much more scary to me than just having one Xenomorph. So, and even that, even like the action, I think works better for this creature as a more animalistic, again, swarming creature. I think the action standpoint much more complements the actual biology of the creature more than, the borderline slasher element of the first film. So I think this giant switch in tone does work in its favor quite well. It uses its screen time very well. Obviously, the cut I watched and the cut everyone should absolutely 100% without a question watch of Aliens is James Cameron's, I believe it's the 1990 special edition. There is absolutely no reason to watch the theatrical compared to the director's. I think the director's cut actually makes the film much better. Not that the original film, not that the original cut is. Sorry, I'm just checking my computer. Not that the original cut in any way is bad, but there's a lot of character elements in this director's cut that, the whole premise is about Ripley finding, a daughter in Newt, and the director's cut has a scene where it's revealed that Ripley was a mom, and things like that wrap the story up in a much nicer box. I don't know why scenes like that were cut. Director's cuts like to. It's weird. One of my favorite director's cuts of all time, for one of my favorite movies of all time, The Driller Killer, adds a lot of character exposition to these characters, and it works much better than the original. And this movie takes these characters and raises them up in importance level. Sorry, I just shook the entire table. The importance level of these characters feels a lot better. Feels a lot more. The importance level of these characters is much more prevalent now that we have, now that we have this extra character development. What was this positive? Oh yeah, I just got a rant about the director's cut and how much I love the movie. No, I think for a 2.5 hour film and above, it clocks in at 2 hours 36 minutes. You're never bored of this film. You're never wishing for it to be over because of it just ramps up the action. If you are bored, it's going to be in the slow burn build-up section way at the beginning. But I'm not personally. I love it. But, I think that there's a lot of... We are entering a phase in horror especially where movies that should be about 90 minutes are pushing are pushing through 2 hour films. And I just, there's a time and a place for a 2 hour movie, an hour and a half movie, and a 2.5 hour movie. And I just feel that we've kind of lost the ability to really pinpoint what films need 2.5 hours and what films are perfectly fine as being an hour and a half. This film absolutely needs to be 2.5 hours, and I think they perfectly utilize their entire runtime telling you this story. And there's no it's 2.5 hours, and I think that every scene is vital, is necessary, and anything that's taken out would mess up the story. And if that's how the movie, if something can be taken out of a movie and the movie doesn't suffer from it, that's when you know that it should be there. So the fact that it has this much stuff that needs to be there, I think shows how lengthy this movie thrives in. That was a really long way of me saying it's long, but it's really good. But this movie, it uses extended runtime extremely well, and it is extremely worth it to spend the extra. I mean, in reality, it's only 20 minutes, so come on, to watch the director's cut. I think everyone performs here really well. As far as Sigourney Weaver, who I sometimes feel a little kind of I kind of find that she undersells sometimes with super emotional, sad parts. Not so much in the first film, more so in the third film. But she's absolutely incredible here. Her performance is great. Lance Henriksen gives, playing a synthetic monotone, portrayed as a motionless robot takes a lot more skill than people think it does. So the fact that, Lance Henriksen pulls off Bishop extremely well in this film. You got the man from The Company, who pulls off being a corporate asshole by the end of the movie very well. He pulls off the kind of innocent, naive-ishness before you get the twist. You get the commander, not the commander guy. You get the leader guy, not the squad leader, but the overall mission leader who stays in the truck and communicates. He very well plays this guy who thinks of himself as, courageous and brave, who completely cracks under pressure. He plays him well. And then you have all of your Space Marines who play those. They're caricatures of, big tough special forces people, but they play it very well, and it works very well in this movie. So I think every and Newt, the little kid, gives gotta be a top 3 child acting performance of all time. So there's this. It's an action flick with a lot of effort put into the performances to go inside with the action. Speaking on the action, there is some absolute banging action parts that come in, specifically the last half of the film, but pretty much right when you touch down on LV-426, it's on from there. You get some great, you get your... there's just so much I don't really know what to talk about. If you watch the film, there's not really one action scene I can point towards that is my favorite. It's just you watch the film and you're getting several incredible action sequences with the swarms of xenomorphs and stuff, and the future laser weaponry. So excuse me. So you're getting a lot of the action you come for. It works very well here, and you're not going to be disappointed in a lack of excitement. Now, while it has definitely lost a bit of the horror edge that the first one did, there is still a decent amount of scares in this movie. In the sequence specifically in one of the labs where they're locked in and the face hugger comes, multiple of them. It is genuinely quite. It's a very suspenseful, tense scene. So if you really love the suspense and tension that Alien brought, and you're worried that this is gonna lose it, I would still give this one a try, because there is definitely some tense scenes here. Not as many and not as tense, but it's a suspenseful film. There are spooky segments to Aliens that I think need to be commemorated. Just like the first movie, the cinematography and the directing is just absolute chef's kiss. It's just, especially for, 1986, it looks absolutely flawless. How they have the giant sets on the spaceship and the planet, the planet, the colony, and everything just looks so massive in a way where you forget. If a movie can make me forget it's a movie, that's what you're looking for. If I'm not sitting, because as I've become more of an less of a film enjoyer and more of an amateur, considering myself an amateur film critic, I find that less and less time I'm spent immersed and actually liking, just watching it as a story. I find itself more watching it as a movie. So if a movie can really immerse me, it's done its job for me. And Aliens absolutely does, with the incredible set design, especially when you get into the main hive segments near the end, and you get to where they bring all the people to do the chest bursting in that in the big like I don't really know what the room would be, but the movie looks phenomenal. Obviously it's hard to, it's not as notable as how incredible the first film is for 1979, but that doesn't mean we should still ignore how fucking incredible Aliens looks. Another thing I really enjoy about Aliens is that, as far as I know, almost everything you see here is all practical effects. I mean, it's 1986, so there was probably some very, very, very primitive CGI. But the movie doesn't take the risk by using such the primitive technology. I believe it is fully practical. And if it's not, it looks fully practical, which is enough for me. Everything looks like, I'm not sitting here saying like, ooh, yeah, that looks very just like edited in. We'll have to talk about that with Alien 3. But this film is just, you have your swarms of xenomorphs that run all around and grab people, and it looks completely realistic. It looks real. It doesn't look like a computer-generated image, so there's something to be marveled with that, and just how expansive this movie is able to be without the help of any computer, technology. How can we not talk about the final boss fight? We can't, Ripley versus the Queen. One of the best cinematic closings in history, in my opinion. It doesn't really get much better than Aliens when it comes to a great ending. So, the movie ends in a very satisfying way where you feel the struggle from the start, and then you get a satisfying conclusion at the end that they definitely don't fuck up in Alien 3 at all, because this was the last movie. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. We'll talk about that soon. Not to... I really enjoyed the character dynamics between Ripley and the synthetic bishop. How you had Ash in the first film. Ash, right? Yeah, Ash in the first film that turned out to be evil. And then you come around to this movie where now Ripley is very paranoid of AI synthetics. So it's very cool to see that really be a pivotal part of her character, because you wouldn't trust things like that after it tried to fucking kill all of you. So it's very fair, and it's a cool way to build a bit of conflict between these characters, and it makes the ending all the more satisfying. And the performances help, but we talked about that earlier. So yeah, and then everything works out pretty damn well. And that's really another thing. Just like Ripley's interactions with all of the crew, I found were very intriguing. How they kind of just write her off as just a civilian and stuff, and then eventually she becomes the leader towards the end, and how a bunch of the different soldiers have much different reactions to her. Some are just whatever, like, I'll just go with the flow. Others, actively participate in trying to plan and stuff. So every character here has a different interaction with Ripley, and I find that they all kind of all of the characters kind of work with the Ripley character in a way where it's very intriguing to keep the plot moving forward, and it works out very well. I have one mixed thing to say, and sometimes when they are in the labs making plans of how to escape and how to power shit and stuff, they use space engineering jargon in a way that makes sense for the movie, but it also does it in a way where I don't know what your plan is, because you just said we need to reconfigure the Fluxenberg to the thingamabob, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that means. So it leaves me in like, now Bishop's crawling through this giant vent, and I don't know where the fuck he's going. I don't know what he's trying to do. I don't know what his big plan is or end goal, and it really is only a one-time little problem thing, but I figure it's important to mention. There are no negatives to Aliens. So we're here at the end here with my final thoughts. And I already gave you pretty much my just final thought at the beginning of the movie. Aliens is one of the greatest films of all time. It is probably my favorite action film of all time. One of my favorite horror films of all time. One of my favorite films of all time. You cannot go wrong with Aliens. As I said in my first review that I did about a year ago. No, that was over a year ago. Wow. No, that last summer. Because I actually reviewed Alien and Aliens over a year ago, and just, didn't keep up with it after that. But anyway, Aliens, 1986 Aliens, 5 out of 5. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. Absolute perfection. What'd you say? What do you think about Aliens? Do you think it's absolute perfection like I do? Do you think I'm overrating it a little bit? I don't think I'm not overblowing by this one. This one is just one of my favorite movies of all time. But do you think I'm overblowing it? Let me know down there. Let me know anything else you want to tell me. Let me know other movies. Let me know how your day's going. Do whatever you want. Cruising along. Thank you all for watching. And this is where we got roadblocked when I tried to review these movies about a year ago, or over a year ago. But we're moving along. Bookman87 out.